Hey everybody, welcome to today's live stream. Well, it's not really live. It's kind of a dry run, but if it goes well, I'm gonna post it. And this is actually my first live coding session, so we'll see how that turns out. I'm not sure I will be able to do it in a good way, but I think it's fun to try, and it's a good way to show how easy it is to build serverless stuff on AWS. So I'm going to do that. And the task that we'll be doing today is that we'll take our reference implementation, which we call the simplistic service, and we will add a new API to it. We have a new proposal for API guidelines at Wireless Car, and so I'm going to go ahead and implement those partially to give us a good idea if they're easy to work with and if we can use them. So it's going to be great. We need to be backwards compatible in the changes we make because we already have teams that are actually using this reference implementation as part of their deliveries. I'll talk a little bit about what the simplistic service does before we get started. So it's got several contexts, but the main one that we'll be focusing on today is the CRUD context. It's a simple CRUD service that deals with entities and relations. So you can add entities and you can add relations. Not necessarily between those entities, but it's just relations and entities separately. It's used for our when we do an MVP, a POC, where we want to prove a simple use case from vehicle to end user, and there's new entities that are relevant for the POC, but we don't have any services that handle them, then we can always toss them in here just to prove that POC, and then we kind of go on and make those entities into a real service. So we have a entities table and we have a relations table, and they're DynamoDB tables. They are multi-tenant tables, so we handle multi-tenancy. I talk about multi-tenancy works in one of the presentations I've made, which are available on my channel as well. So what we're gonna do is that we basically are gonna re-implement the entities and the relations lambdas, or not re-implement them. We're gonna be backwards compatible, so we're gonna keep them, but we're gonna add siblings to them that do implement the new API. We're gonna use the same DAO layer and the same tables. And we're gonna do it in a test-driven fashion. So when we're done, we want to have something that looks like this. So I'm gonna have a new endpoint where we have entities and the relations context, and we're gonna have our RPC implementations in there. And this really is a service that's well suited for REST APIs, since it's just put and gets and deletes. But generally, we do mostly stuff that is well suited for RPC, like sending commands to vehicles, provisioning vehicles, and those type of APIs are much more suited to be RPC style APIs. So the proposal is RPC for our API guidelines. And I mean, it's not all that hard to do CRUD over RPC either. So what are we gonna do and how are we gonna do it? I've created a Trello where we have the tasks that we're going to work on, and we want to work in a test-driven way, and we want to work with API definition first. So I've actually created the API definition already. I started doing that before I realized that this would be a good first live stream. So I have the API definition, and I have created my game plan here where I know how to work, and I'm gonna follow that one. And so let's say that this comes from our Scrum planning that we've done together in the team, and we've kind of broken it down how we want to tackle this problem. So we're gonna add unit tests for the entities RPC handler. Then we're gonna add the handler itself and add the operations, the intents we want to do. Then we're gonna do the relations unit tests and the handler there. Then we're gonna add to our CloudFormation the new API exports for it, and we're also gonna add the Lambda functions, and then we're gonna launch it. And hopefully that will take about an hour to do, maybe an hour and a half. I don't really know since I haven't been streaming my coding before, but I expect that to take that amount of time. I'm thinking if I see it takes longer, then I maybe just do the entities in this one and launch them. And then I'm going to do a second stream where we actually implement and adjust the test bot. The test bot is our simulators that we run on all endpoints in order to make sure that they're constantly working, and I'll be talking a little bit of how we think about test bots, how we want to write them in a good way in the next live stream, if it works out well. We'll see. I'm thinking that we could also have a look at when we talk about the service, how it works. In order to show it, I'm thinking we could look at, okay, I need to log in again. There's always something. And USB keys are awesome. So I wanted to show you the X-ray trace of this service to kind of get an idea of what it does, and we'll actually look in a little bit more time, maybe an hour. See what we get there. Reload that. Map is updating. I want to get my SDS calls here because I do. There we go. And there, this is perfect. This shows quite well the flow of the service. So we have the API itself. We have a client. It's basically our what do they call test bots that are making the calls. So test bots make calls to the API, and then we hit either the entities or the relations lambda. We end up in the function, and the function, it assumes a role, a tenant specific role via SDS, gets the role back, and then it hits the table to either do its get or put or whatever it does with the entities and the relations. So basically, call comes in, we assume a role that is specific for the tenant, which is defined in the JWT token and verified by a custom authorizer, and then we grab the role for a tenant, and then we go to the table. So that's what it does for entities and for relations. So let's go to our code. And I said I had already started working on the API before I realized that I would be streaming it. So what I've done is that I have created JSON schemas for the entity request and entity response, and for the relation request and relation response. And oh, I need to actually switch to the code. Sorry about that. Not used to this the streaming program I'm using to stream, but here's the code. So I have made a schema definition for the RPC of the request response. It's here, and the entities request can do this is actually wrong. This is copy paste errors. This is awesome. We get to update this right away. Just make sure. Yeah. No, sorry, I just had the wrong file open. Anyway, so for entities, it's set entity, delete entity, get entity, and list entities. That's what you can do on that endpoint. And you basically, when you do set entity, you provide an entity attribute, which is the type of the entity, like it's a vehicle, or it's a user, or it's a company, or whatever, and then the ID of it, and the payload. So the payload could be, I mean, that's a JSON describing it, and it's specific, and it's not really schema. And I'm not really defining my schema all that detailed at this time. I just want to have it there to get started. Delete, you provide an entity and the entity ID, and those are basically the hash key and shard key of the table. The hash key of the table also adds the tenant string to the entity, so it's the tenant entity they store. But we'll get to that when we start coding. If we look at the response, we have response for the same operations and what we expect back. So, and this one is actually not updated, which nice. All the responses should basically return a status, and there should be a error type, and it's there. So the response is either a set entity response, delete entity response, get entity response, list entity response, or an error. And we actually need to add the error to the one-off as well. We'll go ahead and do that. There we go. And it's correct there. And then we look at the entities. We'll go through them when we get there, but it's basically the same operations. It's set, get, delete, list, and the list reverse entities, reverse relations. That's basically if a vehicle has a relation to a driver, then you can get the driver relations back to the vehicles that he's the driver of. That's a good example for the reverse relations. And they are all there, and then we have the response here with the one-off on the error and the relation responses, and they are, oh yeah, sorry about this, I should have prepared that, but that's live coding. This one is correct. It returns the, I mean, obviously when you do a list of something, it returns the like the relations, a list of, so it returns relations, it returns entities. So that's correct, but I realized that when I did the copy pasting here, I was a little bit too fast when it comes to to the get on this one. It should return basically entity the ID and payload, because that's what we do when we do the set. So it should be the same on the get that we do the set on, and the list should be a it should be a list of entities. So so it returns entities back, and that's a list. Yeah, that's probably the way we want it. This is typically something, I mean, obviously you want to design your API before you start coding, just because of this, that you want it ready. What we have as well is, so this is basically there's an operation, and it gets the commands in here on the request. So it's a operation, and the operation has a set of intents, and that intent has a payload. That's basically how the API is designed. I've created a request and a response class. Basically what that one does is it takes a schema, and if you provide it a schema, then it verifies the schema as you load a body, for example. So if you get a request body in with the request, you load it into the request object, you set the schema, and you get it schema validated. I've done unit tests for that one, so those tests are ready as well. And now we are gonna make unit tests for the new entity function. As you see here, I have integration test, and I have function tests, and I have tests on two levels. I basically test the data layer, I test the Lambda function, and then I test the integration of those two. I do that because I don't want to do that testing in a deployed AWS account. So I basically want to keep run my test with a mocked DynamoDB. You can take a look at those tests a little bit. So I use Moto to mock. It's awesome. This is really nice with Python. You just annotate at mock DynamoDB, and you have a DynamoDB in your unit test environment. So whenever you do any kind of Boto 3 coding against the API, it uses that mock DynamoDB, and it behaves just like a DynamoDB. So I mocked the DynamoDB. Here I have my function. I inject tables into it that I create, and or rather I inject a table into the DAO, and then I set the DAO on the entity. So I get the mocked tables there, and then I call the Lambda function with an HTTP request, and I get a response back. This is exactly what happens between the API gateway and my application. So I've basically tested it all the way up to the API gateway. So when we go ahead and deploy, we know that everything is well tested below the API gateway. So anything that fails on a deploy is just the difference between the integration between the API gateway and the Lambda service. So that makes it really easy. Anyways, we will start with actually we'll do a copy of this test case to start with. Function entity RPC, we'll call it like that. We'll start with just test case here, and we'll test entity function, and we'll do since we don't do a put, we do a set entity request is what we call it, and we call it we call the class go. Good. Yeah, so we have the mocked DAO that goes in. We still have the same DAO as we have in the old entity. Functions is we're just changing the API. The event needs a new body, so we need to go ahead and create a new request that we put in there, and then we will get a new response back, and we'll validate that. Let's see. Functions entity, and now we need to decide if we want. I think we should do it like this. Then we create a totally new. We create a totally new file for it, and so we keep them totally separate. We could have done it by adding a handler to the entity. I'll actually do that. I'll keep them in the same Lambda implementation. I'll just change which handler is used for RPC and which one is used for the old Restish API. So we'll go. This is the call we will be making. So on the entities function, I'll show you where it is. It's here, entity function. Here we have the handler. We will just go ahead and add a new handler here, which is handler RPC. We'll call that one, and for now, we'll return not done yet. There we go, and we want so that's nice. We go back to our unit test, and so we're calling the RPC handler there, and we need to create a So we're gonna go ahead and from lambda utils dot rpc import request, and we're going to import a response as well. And we create the request. And guess what? I've been coding too much in my life, but I'm so over it. Request and shouldn't this one take? Oh. It takes schema, the base. Like this, right? There we go. I actually wonder why that worked, but it looks much better to actually have it explicitly defined. Okay, so we create a request with the schema in, and we want to create a schema. Let's see. Yeah, this is how we do that. But the schema is located in functions. Should probably put it in a schema definition folder, but we'll keep it next to the functions for now. The request. So that loads it, and we'll also create a response. There we go, and now we have our request here. We want to do a set operation request, and the operation we want to do is or let me look at the schema. We want to do a set entity request is what we want to implement. There we go, and we say that entity is of the type. What should we use for the test? We can use a beacon, and the ID is tr123, and the payload is this. What should it be? We will let's add a win to be same as the ID for hello. Color black, and the I forgot you should a command like that, and we should format this a little bit nicer. There we go. Some a little bit of formatting, and we want blank string because it's Python and the Python cares, but it looks much better. There we go. So color black, and I want to actually add the just because I drive a superb. Really nice car, by the way. There we go. So we have a request. We can make sure that the request is really validated against the schema, and then we do request.stringify, and then we have our response object that we expect it to get operation response and set entity. And what did we say we expect that to be? We expect that to be it is an operation response, so we'll call it for what it is, and we expect operation response status to be okay. So this is our and we also actually need to load the response. Load the body. We got it's gonna contain a body. And we actually want to that equals on status code. We got a 200 back. So okay, so we expect the function once it's called to return a status code 200. Then we load the body, and we expect the body to have the load body will validate against the schema, and we expect it to return the set entities response and contain status okay. So if we run our test now, what's gonna happen? It's gonna fail, obviously, and it says that it expects the transaction ID to be of type integer, which is wrong. It should be string. Go ahead and fix that. Yeah, it's already fixed. Okay, let's run the test again. Let's see what I actually got here. We'll do a debug, and obviously I know what I got, since the not done yet, and not done yet is a string and not a JSON, and it fails horribly because of that, and it fails already on the status code there, which is okay. And I'm actually gonna do, yeah, that's good. So now we have the test failing, we're getting the not done yet. So now let's go ahead and implement the handler for the function. Entity, and we have our handler here. So in the event, we do get a body in, and we want to, let's see, we'll do some copy paste coding here, and first thing we want to do is that we want to make sure that it's the right operation, and the right operation in our API is a post, since what we're doing is RPC, and we do get a body, and all of that, we get a body, and we want to create a request object, and we want to do the imports of the request and response objects as well. So we'll grab those and copy paste those from here. There we go. Request, and we have a compound here as well. We have the request there, we have the load body. There we go, we load you, and we want to actually do a response. And now actually what we want to do here is, if get operation, what did we say that this was going to be? I want to implement the first one, the set one here, the set entity request, and that one is not none. We do a return the response, and the parameter is focus. Okay, there we go, and we do response string 5. There we go. There we go. Those we can remove. We need the. This is the tenant context. It's actually a helper class we have. We're loading the from the request context of the event. That's where the custom authorizer takes the custom attribute from the JWT token. It puts it on request context. So we actually don't need to crack open any JWT tokens or anything to get our tenant, which is nice. So because we're keeping it separate that way. But on the API, it's in the JWT token. So that's how it comes in here. We're going to use it in a little bit. But now we've actually created an implementation of this handler, which should give us a successful unit test. We'll see. Test failed. Oh, I got a 415 unauthorized back, and it's because I didn't have on the request context any tenants. Which is strange because I have it here. What was there? Let's debug this. You see how quickly the debugger starts? It's so nice compared to other languages. So how does the event look? Let's have a look at it. Request context contains an authorizer which contains the tenant. That one should be correct. So oh yeah. I'm stupid. We're not sending in we're not making a post. We are making a put or something else. Yeah. So post, there we go. Let's run the test again. Run. So the schema validation is not working. Then I want to actually try my unit tests here of the request object. Good, that one. The request object works and the validation works. So it is actually a true error I have somewhere here. Run the test again and we'll have a look. What does it say? it says that something is not of the type object, but what is that? What is it? This is why I actually want to run this as a true live stream, because then some of you guys would go like, yeah, that's the issue in this in the chat, and that would be awesome because we could help each other out, and you could also provide me how to make better unit tests, which would be also great, so we could improve the application together. But let's see if we can figure this one out. Let's look at the schema. Set entity response. So set one of there and set entity, and it set entity report should be of type object and status. And it has the is it that I'm a little bit unsure here. Because if I would do this, if I would provide it as a string, that should fail as well, of course. I want to see how it fails. Is it expecting the... What is it expecting to be? Transaction is a string. It is. Let's see. Let's do this with the unit test. Let's test what we expect the... Let's have a look at the body. to make sure that it's what we really expect it to be. Sorry, debug it. Event, the body. Ooh, it's really not, right? It's not, because it's this body looks all messed up. It contains the oh yeah, it's the request body, sorry. That's obviously correct. Oh, we're here, sorry. We can step through this. We could actually. No, we could do. We should actually validate this before we send it back. Let's debug the test again. Debug. Because that's good to know that it's. Let's see if this validates. Response. It has an operation. This looks nice. And it was valid here. So unless we do something with the loading. So if we look at the event and we look at the event body, the event body is a string, and oh, hold on. Oh, got, sorry, no, the got body, that's the ooh. Could this be the case that we're actually mishandling the strings? I should probably not have stringified it when I returned it. Let's have a look. Is that the problem? That the response util wants not a string, but it wants a response body. Yeah. I should send that one there, and I actually want to do this. I want to send the response, because the response is a class, and I want to send the dict of the class there, because the util here, what it does is that it turns the dict into a JSON, and in order to run JSON dumps to get the string, we need to send a dict and not a class. Dict is the Python equivalent of a map, and we could obviously do that by just changing here that we get the string in and not do the dump and stuff like that, but we need to be backwards compatible. So let's respond. Ugh. Should have been response. It's a spelling error. I'm not gonna fix this. Refactor, rename. Refactor. Response, and we want to do the I want to do a get dict. I'll show you why I don't want to just do the dict, because I want to actually remove from the dict the schema. And if we look here, when I create my class, I use the schema as a member of the object, and if I do a dict of it, I get the schema with me, and I don't want the schema to be part of the response. So let's do a dict, and I obviously don't want to pop the schema off the dict that is self, because I do want to keep it there. It's just on the returned. I probably shouldn't call it get. I'll call it get it for now. Here I did the get dict, and I'm setting it in there. This is just because I'm using that util to create. I could have actually just stopped using that util class, but I think it's kind of nice to just send in the 200 and get the response object formatted back, because it kind of removes a little bit of boilerplate from my handler class itself. Let's see. Let's go ahead and run my unit tests. Yay! They worked. So now let's go ahead and do some implementation of the we're doing the put. So let's do like this. So we want actually the operation, and from the operation we get 22 ID payload there we go. There was this problem. Yes. There we go. And yeah, so now we're sending it to DAO. Since we have the database, we should just be able to run our unit test again. I see that it still works. It should still work. Oh, it still does work. That's awesome. Now let's implement the get endpoint, and once we've done that, we should be able to do a put the get test. That's gonna be awesome. That's gonna be awesome. Now there's stuff happening here. I hope you've not kind of died from boredom. My tea has gone cold, and it's taking longer than I expected, so I will probably just do the entities and then go ahead and launch those, and we'll see what you think about this stream. We'll go ahead and add let's see, get entity request, the payload is this. get entity. That should be correct, right? That would have so kind of consequent. So get entity request is what we're doing. I'm thinking I could make this look nicer, so I kind of do a has or something like that. Whatever. That's another thing that you guys would have probably been suggesting while watching the stream. Anyways, let's do the test for the get entity. And we'll do it like this. We'll basically do a set and get entity request is what we're testing here. And I could have written those names in a given when then form, but I don't, so I'll probably rewrite that next time. So we're posting it in, and we want to do a get, so we do a we do our the new request, and we do we'll bring this one along as well. There we go. Get entity request, entity vehicle ID, and I want to keep that because this is kind of what I'm expecting to get. There we go. And we do a event. I should probably create myself a convenience method for creating those events, but that's okay for now, I think. And then we do we load the response again. We can actually grab all of that. There we go. So we got the status code 200 back. We load the response from the body and the operation response, and we do a assert self assert equals and operation response payload is I'm actually going to check the schema here because I wonder if I did the schema the same way. There we go. Let's look at the schema a little bit on the response of the entity object. Entity ID payload. Ooh, yes. So we just added the payload, so we need to actually add the payload, and yeah, it should be like this. Oh, there we go. That's and then and there, it's well formatted. Actually, I want to see what the get entity DAO returns. Where is it? Data layer, entity DAO. Get entity. Yep. It returns the entire object, so that's good. Then we actually didn't have to do that. Let's see, where are we? So it was actually correct the way it was before. Payload. There we go. We run the test. And it failed. Yeah, and that's because I didn't mock. Oh yeah, sorry, you guys would have probably spotted this. This is not an integration test. This is obviously just a unit test. So we actually need to mock the return of the get method, and we don't need to do the put first. So let's do this again. First, here we go. Let's see. Yeah, that should be about enough. So we have the request, which is the get, and it's the get entity that we want to make sure it returns an object which looks something like this. There we go. So that's the return object from the get entity, the request, the response. This. Let's see what it returns. Oh. Look at operation response is none. Oh, sorry. Let's get entity response. Let's run again. Smart, that worked. Awesome. So our get and put works. And I want to make a quick test for delete as well. How long have we been streaming now? We've been streaming for an hour. So, okay, so this does take longer when I'm explaining everything that if I'm coding myself. I'll do the this one, the delete test as well, and then we'll see if I maybe call it tonight. And then we call it delete. Let's look at the schema. Yes, we did. Delete. Return value of the delete is none. And response. No, delete. Okay, and let's implement it this way. Hmm? Okay. So I wonder why I cannot click on it there, but let's go for now and we do a delete response, and we do it with just a little. States, okay. There we go. Let's run the tests. Awesome. So that's those 3 implemented images. I'm tempted to actually doing an integration test really quickly on this, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna break that into the next session. And next session is gonna be I'm gonna do an integration test and then I'm gonna launch it. And I'll just do the entities, because you're gonna kind of see how it works.